think it is just about time to go ahead and get started. Hey, welcome to AtTheTrack.live. My name is Coach James. I am the creator and the lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics. What is All About Aerodynamics? Glad you asked, even if you didn't ask. All About Aerodynamics is a science program where I use Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through 6th grade students about physics, about aerodynamics, about kinetic energy, about potential energy, about drag, about lift, about elastic force, about a whole range of science and physics related topics. And once I've taught them all the science, then I bring in about 400 different Hot Wheels cars. Each student picks a Hot Wheels car they think would be fastest in a series of races based on everything they've learned about aerodynamics. And then once they've picked their car and they've analyzed their car and they've documented everything about their cars, then they set up a 20-foot drag strip and we have a tournament and we race the cars and they observe how their cars perform. Did their cars perform up to or below their expectations? And once they make those assessments, they determine whether or not they would choose that car again if they had another opportunity. So they're learning about the scientific method, they're learning about physics, they're learning about aerodynamics, and they're having fun with Hot Wheels. But before I can bring all those Hot Wheels cars into the classroom, I have to make sure that I know which cars I'm bringing in, which cars which students are using, and most importantly, which cars I'm bringing back. So before I can bring the cars to the classroom, I have to number each car, I have to enter the name into a spreadsheet, I have to take a picture, I have to shoot a short video because there is an online version of All About Aerodynamics. And once I've done all of that, then I can put the car in a case, it has a number, I know where it is, and then the students are free to select that car. And like most Hot Wheels enthusiasts and collectors, I have way more Hot Wheels cars that I've bought than I have entered into the system. Now, most Hot Wheels collectors aren't necessarily cataloging the cars the same way I am, but the thing we do have in common is every time we go into a store that sells Hot Wheels, we go down that aisle and take a look and see if there's anything new or interesting. And for me, I'm looking for things that are interesting to me or things that I think that the students might find interesting, and I pick those cars up. But like I said, I have more cars in storage than I have entered into our system. And currently there are 626 cars that I've cataloged that are entered into the All About Aerodynamics AtTheTrack.live fleet. And there are more to come. We are going to have 6 more cars introduced today and 6 cars next week, and on and on and on. So, let's see. One of the things that we have to take care of is the whole reason why it's AtTheTrack.live. So, I have those cars in storage. When I take them out of storage, I have to crack them open. Like I said, I have to enter the information into a spreadsheet. I have to take a picture. I have to take a video. It was kind of boring work, and I was trying to figure out, well, how can I turn something I have to do into something that's a little more fun to do? And I came up with the idea for AtTheTrack.live. So every week, I crack open 6 new Hot Wheels cars that I've pulled out of storage, and we take a look at them here live. I enter the information into the spreadsheet, shoot the video while I'm talking about the car, doing a little review, And then, after I've cracked open all 6 cars, taken a look at those, reviewed them, take them out to the track, have a little mini tournament. And from there, we can determine which car is going to be today's champion of the 6. But wait, there's more. You have an opportunity to participate, and all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live. There will be 3 options you have. One is for the YouTube stream, the other is for the Twitch stream. The third link is one that says choose a car. If you select that, it will take you to this page. On this page, you will find all of the fruits of my labor, and you will see all of the cars that are currently in the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live fleet listed and numbered. And you can go through and take a look at all of the cars. If you click on one of the cars, for example, this Ferrari F50, you will get a close-up view, and the cars are on a mirror, so you can actually see beneath the car and see that in this case, this actually looks like a metal body on a metal base, which is unique depending on when this car was manufactured. Typically, the cars that I've purchased recently are metal body on a plastic base or a plastic body on a metal base. Did I just say the same thing? Whenever I say that, I feel like I've repeated the same thing. But anyway, it's either metal on plastic or plastic on metal, typically. But some of the older cars are metal on metal, and if that's significant, then you can see that in the reflection when you select the find a car to pick. And so, for example, if this was the car that you wanted to see race against one of the cars that I've cracked open, all you would have to do is take the number of the car, in this case 172, drop that into the chat, and then I will go and pull the car. We will take it to the track and see if you are correct and see how your car performs. If your car performs well enough, it could end up being our new champion. So what would have to happen is your car would need to beat all of the cars that I crack open today, so all 6 of those cars, and then you would take on our fastest in fleet car. What is our fastest in fleet car? Well, that is the car, in this case, it's right here, it's the Terra-Tracktyl. This is the car that has beaten out all of the other cars for the last few weeks. I think this is probably going on, this will be the 3rd week for the Terra-Tracktyl. And this car was a surprise because I didn't really expect it to be as fast as it was. And the cars that it faced the first time that it was introduced, those cars, I thought there were at least 3 other cars that were going to be faster than this one. I was wrong, which is why we have to take the cars to the track. But so far, the Terra-Tracktyl has stood out and been pretty dominant. And we'll see if that holds up. I think last week it did have a close race, but it still came out on top. So the Terra-Tracktyl is our current fastest in fleet car. But of course, like I said, if you think that you can pick a car faster than the Terra-Tracktyl, all you need to do is go to AtTheTrack.live, pick a car, and we will race that car against the 6 cars that I crack open. And then if you beat those cars, then you get a shot at the Terra-Tracktyl. So that is what is coming up. And if you want to see any of the past episodes of At The Track Live to see how the Terra-Tracktyl performed, how it became our fastest in fleet car, then all you have to do is go to our YouTube channel. And on the YouTube channel, you may already be there, but if you click the live tab, all of the At The Track Live episodes are listed. And most importantly, for people who are going back, I add in time codes. So if you just want to jump straight to the races, you can do that. If you want to jump to the reviews, you can do that. And of course, you're welcome to watch the entire episode. Of course. But If you have been watching the last 2 weeks, you will have seen that we ended up destroying the axles on 2 different cars. And the track that we use, again, it's different. A lot of Hot Wheels racing you see on YouTube is done on gravity tracks. And gravity tracks, of course, just start with the cars in an elevated position, let them go. Gravity pulls them down the track, and they, in some cases, go through twists and turns. And in other cases, it's just a straight drag track. Our track is a drag track, but it's flat. And I designed a launcher to shoot the Hot Wheels cars out at an extremely high rate of speed compared to the standard launchers that you would get from Mattel or even using a booster. And the reason why is because the faster the cars move, the faster an object is moving through the air, the more the air has an impact on the moving object, in this case the Hot Wheels cars. So drag excuse me. And it's easier for the students to observe certain principles at work when the cars are moving faster. So my whole goal was to get the cars moving fast, and I've done that. The downside to that is that when the cars crash, there is the potential for damage to be done. Now, in most cases, really that just means chipped paint. But in certain cases, for certain cars, it actually means damage to the car. So what we've found and had happen the last 2 weeks is, let me get this car up here. This position just right. Turn off the turntable. Is cars with open her exposed front wheels are having a couple of issues. So this is the Rocket Oil Special, and you can see the front wheels are bent almost in a V shape. They're just pointing at what would that be? Let's say 11 and 1. Or we could say 10 and 2. Either way, the wheels are not supposed to be bent at that angle. And they didn't start off that way. And when we raced the cars, this one, it went all the way to the end of the track, but there's a barrier at the end of the track. I believe that this car hit that barrier in an awkward way, and that's what contributed to bending the axle. And now I saw a tool online where you could probably bend it back, and because it's open, I may actually try to do a wheel swap. This might be the first opportunity for me to practice swapping out the wheels on the car. So that is a possibility, but as of right now, this car is got plenty of problems. And then the week before that, yeah, Kaz, you're right. They're always at risk, because the week before that, we had this one. This was the goofiest car that we've introduced so far. This, what is it? The Mustache. And this was the one that had the little, actually it doesn't, because I had to buy another one, because this one actually came out of the launcher, flips upside down, and hit one of the barriers on the side, and that destroyed the axle. So that one got bent, and the car was given away. But this is the car that has the mustache. I don't know why. I don't know why they figured this was a good idea, but this is what it is. So fortunately, this car isn't so much in demand, so it was easy to just find another one and replace it. But I am still a little hesitant to put it back on the track because when it hits, if it hits that barrier, it's done. Yeah, so Kaz has mentioned the axle straightening tools, and I saw it at the little, it's almost like a little wrench type thing, and yeah, it was for the vintage red lines. Do you know, Kaz, if, because one of the reasons I've been slow to do wheel swaps is because most of the wheels that I've found are rubber. I haven't just been able to find just the regular plastic wheels. Do you know if that's something? Usually the Hot Wheels swap meet that I go to, everyone has really nice custom wheels, but if they're not plastic, all of the rubber wheels, they really don't do so well on the track. There's just too much friction and it slows the cars down. So I've been looking for just plastic wheels. So if anybody knows, you can leave a comment, shoot me a DM, something. But I have a lot of older cars, which I showed last time, that like this, a couple of these, let me throw these up there, some that I had from childhood that are just pretty, like the wheels don't even, I've got this one. This is one that I played with this a lot, and the wheels, again, we're back to that situation with the wheels that are exposed and damaged. But this is one of my favorites, and I suppose I could just go out and buy another one, find it on eBay, but ideally I'd like to swap the wheels out and get this thing back up and running, because this was the one that I was playing with when I was a kid, and it looks like it. A lot of the cars, like, I wasn't into Hot Wheels collecting. I just, got Hot Wheels cars and played with them, and the wheels are just, on most of these, are really beat up, because once again, I played with these cars. I wasn't thinking about keeping them in mint condition and pristine inside the packaging. I played with them, and the wheels paid the price. And so some of these axles are bent, and so I need to swap out the wheels on those cars as well. But that is, so I'm hanging on to those until I can get a solution, and hopefully one day get those back on the track. But there are plenty of cars from back in the day, like the first two cars that I ever got, first two Hot Wheels were these two, this Murata Stalker and this front running Fairmont, and they came with a drag track, the Stow and Go race track, and it was about 7 feet long, and it had a track that extended out, and it was just a drag track. And these cars, the axles are fine and they're pretty fast. The problem on our track is that, again, it's not a gravity track, and because of that, these older, heavier cars, as they get toward the back end of our track, they tend to slow down. Like the gravity goes to work and they slow down. But we have had some of these older Gold Hot Ones cars do pretty well. They haven't beaten the faster modern cars, lighter cars, but they've done pretty well. And that's one of the things that the students do during the class, is that they have to weigh the cars, and in doing that, in weighing the cars, keeping track of that, and then watching the outcomes of the races, they're able to come to the conclusion about the way that the weight affects the cars. And then we'll go back and have races with cars that are more similar in weight. So if there's a huge disparity in weight, then we'll match up cars that are similar in weight. But it's one of those things that I want the students to come to that conclusion, and I don't want to necessarily tell them. It's one of the things that they can observe. So again, if you think that you can pick a car that is faster than one of the 6 cars that I crack open today, all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live, select choose a car, and you will be taken to this page. And I said there are 626 cars currently cataloged and listed. All you have to do is find the car that you want to race, drop the number in the chat, and then I will pull that car, and we will see if it's faster than any of the 6 that I crack open today. And if it is, then you will get a chance to take on our fastest in fleet car, which is currently, strangely and oddly, somehow, some way, it is still our fastest car. It is this one. It is the Terra-Tracktyl. I never would have thought it, and who knew? But it is currently the reigning, defending fastest in fleet car. So I am going to crack open 6 more, and then we will see if any of those 6 can beat out the Terra-Tracktyl, and who knows? All right, so let's see. So I was thinking, should I take the chance and bring another open wheel car and have the chance that the axle gets busted up? And I didn't see one when I just looked in the storage, but I did see a car that was interesting. It's the wheels are protected, so shouldn't have the problem with the axle, but the wheels are strange. And it is this one. This is the Ice Shredder, and it's clearly modeled after a bobsled. It's got two drivers in there. I don't know what the second person on the bobs. Oh, one person, they're pushing. I guess they're both pushing, then they jump in the bobsled, and one person's steering and the other person's just holding on. So this is what this is modeled after. But what I thought was interesting is it's got these tiny, tiny wheels. These tiny little wheels. And I don't recall seeing those, at least not 4 of them, on any of the other cars that we've picked. So I want to introduce unique cars because, one, I'm curious about how it will perform on the track, but also because it gives the students one extra thing to think about. And if all the cars are exactly the same, then it's not really going to, they're not really going to be able to make decisions based on anything deeper than we only had 2 choices. So let's crack this open, take a look at it up close, the Ice Shredder. All right. It is, so this is interesting because it's metal on metal. Let me just get, and there's actually 3 or 4 drivers. I don't know how many people are typically on a bobsled team, if it's 4 or if it's 3, but there's a bunch of people in there. Okay, this is 36.1 grams. And let me get it up here so we can take a closer look at it. The Ice Shredder with these tiny little wheels. All right, let's take a closer little look. Yeah, it's definitely CAS simulate. Yeah, this is interesting. This is going to be interesting. And so one of the things is that I'm curious to see how this does on the track. Now, one thing that we do know is that the cars that are narrow tend to, unless they get a really good launch, they start to bounce back and forth, and then we start to see Isaac Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and they will hit one side and then go to the other side and start to bounce back and forth. And every time they strike a side of the track, that friction starts to slow the car down. But we also want to take a look at the back end of the car, because the cars that tend to do best are cars with a flat back end that have, because we have a block, launching blocks that push out, and the more surface area that's pressed up against the launching block, the better the launch is that the car gets, and the less likely it is to deviate and go side to side. But this is very interesting. I'm going to be interested to see exactly how this car performs. So I'm just shooting the video now so that the students in the online version of All About Aerodynamics will be able to see the car. And now let me just get the still picture, yeah, I really can't think of any other cars that have, or that are in my fleet, that have just the these tiny little wheels. So, all right, let's see. I think that's pretty good right there. Oh, let me straighten this out. And there we go. The ice shredder. Okay, so we have car number 1, the ice shredder. That is, let's see, I gotta also have to put the year in, and the year on this one is 2014. So we've got those two, and the Terra-Tracktyl, which is our reigning champion, and then the ice shredder. All right, next up, let's go. So we went with a fantasy car. So how about this next one? This one I picked up at a Hot Wheels swap meet. I don't know if this was a just a prototype concept car, or if this actually came out in some form or fashion. But this one, it's the Honda Sprocket, and this is from 2005, and it's almost like a hatchback slash pickup. It's like they took a Civic and wanted to make a Civic slash El Camino, so it's got a little truck bed in the back. I don't know if this ever was an actual car. I'd have to look it up, but this is the one that's going to be cracked open next, so let's crack it open and take a look. Okay, the Honda Sprocket, and the year on this one has 2001. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the Honda Sprocket. All right, now this one, might as well take the still picture. I've got it here. And it's still predominantly plastic. Well, actually, no. The really shiny parts are plastic. So all of this is plastic, this part. But then this other darker gray is metal. So I'm gonna have to see what this car weighs. But first, let me get the video, lock in the focus, and here we go. All right, so car number 628, the Honda Sprocket. And again, I'm always looking at the back end of the car, and this one, as it comes around, It looks pretty flat, which is good. Yeah, I mean it's an odd. It's another car that's just it's a little odd. A hatchback El Camino, definitely different, and I want as many different cars as possible, and we've got quite a few across from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and right up until last week. So we've got the Honda Sprocket and smaller cars. But see, the whole thing is the Terra-Tracktyl surprised me. Typically, the cars that do well on the track are wider cars with a flat back end. And there are a number of reasons for that, but usually when the students are racing the cars, they keep statistics in a spreadsheet, and over time you can start to see trends emerge and which cars do better than others. And there is a certain type of car that does well on our track, but I don't want to give that away because who knows, one of future All About Aerodynamics students may be watching and they would have some inside information. So I don't want them to have that. I want them to learn the lessons along with the rest of the class. So let me just see how much this Honda Sprocket weighs. This one's 37 grams. So it's actually a gram heavier than the ice shredder. And then just for comparison, the Terra-Tracktyl is 35 grams. So all of these cars are right in the same range, 35, 36 grams. So we're not having wild weight disparities, so that's good. All right, we've got the Honda Sprocket and we've got the ice shredder. Next up, let's go. Let's go with we're going to go with this truck, the Draftnator, and it's a drag truck. I have a lot of trucks, and I'd like to introduce more of them, but so many of them are too wide to fit in the launch channel. There's a channel on our track that the cars have to sit in to launch out of, and some of the cars where the fenders flare out, or trucks that have bigger wheels, just don't fit. And so anytime I can find a truck that I think will work on the track, I like to throw those in. But let me just double check to make sure that I don't already have a Draftnator in the fleet. Sort this column alphabetically. Go to these. Donut Drifter and Driftsta. So there is no Draftnator, but there is now, and it is this one, this translucent orange drag truck. So let's crack this open, take a look. Okay, Draftnator. Let's get it lined up. And I can already tell, just from picking this up, that it is pretty light. All of that plastic, I mean the orange part is obviously plastic, that grill is plastic, and even though it looks like they modeled some interiors like the engine and seats and whatnot, all that's also plastic. And just picking it up, it felt light. I'm gonna guess if the other cars are, what did we say, were like 35, 36 grams. I'm gonna guess this one will come in at 30. I'm going to guess 32. 32 is my guess. 32 grams for this one. So let's see, 629. This is the Draftnator. Draftnator, and I don't recall if I looked at the year on that yet, but it comes around. Again, the back end, it has that spoiler that's kind of just at an odd angle. So that is the part that's going to be touching the launching block. And I would have more confidence in this truck if this were not there, because when it comes around, which I guess I can stop this, when you look at it, when the launching block, when this presses up, it's only going to be touching the launching block is going to be pressed up against this part, and that's it. Now, if that weren't there, then the launching block would be pressed up against this entire back end, but that is not the case. So we will have to see how this car does. Let me get the still picture. And got that. And that's, I like the look of this truck. I think the I don't know how it's going to do on the track, but I like it. The translucent orange, I don't know, something about that I like. All right, got the still picture, the Draftnator. Let me check the year. And the year on this one is 2020. The bottom feels like, well, no. I think the bottom may be plastic as well. We may have an all plastic situation here. Let's get the weight. It might be less than I thought. Nope, I was right. It's just about right. It's 32.4 grams, so it's a few grams lighter than the other cars that we've taken a look at. And so there are, let's see, so far we have the Ice Shredder, we have the Honda Sprocket, and we have the Draftnator. Those are the first three cars that are going to be entered into today's tournament. If you have want to pick a car to race against one of these three, all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live, select choose a car. Once you do that, you will be taken to this page, and on this page all of the cars are listed. They are there for you to choose from, whether you want an old, there are even a few Matchbox cars in there that I had. This is one that someone picked a couple of weeks ago that we had some fun with, this racing stalker. And they okay, so Kaz says touch it to your nose. If it's cold, it's metal. It is not. It is not metal. Oh, and I see it's got the gimmick Best for Track logo on there, which we've talked about that a few times. This marketing gimmick, this Best for Track, because it's not exactly clear what that means or if it means anything. And what we found is doesn't really mean all that much necessarily, but it is good to it's just one other thing. We've had some wheels. Let's see, our nose is more sensitive to temperature. Our hand would warm it up. I see. This with most of these, it's pretty. Let me do it again. Let me do the nose test. Okay, wait. So Kaz is saying that you can, when you touch it to your nose, it will feel cold. Oh, and then when I do the plastic side, plastic's warm. metal coal. So I like that. Okay, I had no idea. So let me now I'm kind of curious. Let me try the ice shredder, which I know for a fact is all metal. Yeah. Okay. Good. See, you learn something every day. You're never too old to learn. You should be open to learning things. And now I know that will be something that I'm sure the students will have some fun with. So we've got 3 cars waiting to compete, and we need 3 more. So let's see. We've gone fantasy car, concept car, this Draftnator. I'll throw that in the category of fantasy car, even though it just looks like a drag pickup truck. And let's go next with, how about, so I have this 85 Honda CRX, but once again, I need to double check because with 620 some odd cars, I'm trying to avoid having duplicates. And the big, let's see, I have a 1980, 96, 68, 90. Okay, there is no 85. Let me check the 8 just in case I put 85. We have an 85 Honda City Turbo 2, but no CRX. So this one's good to go. All right, let me realign that. Okay, let's crack this open. Take a look at it. The 1985 Honda CRX. Okay, got this one, and let's. Well, first I'll just check the weight. At some point I will get a camera on the scale. So this one is 35.4 grams. So other than the Draftnator, all of these cars are very similar in weight, which is good. So let's see here. Take a look at this Honda. And just take the still picture first. And just want a nice sort of 3/4 view, give the students who are participating in the online version an opportunity to just get a general sense for what the car is like, and then the video if they want to take a whole 360-degree view of the car. So here we go with that, and then I'll enter it into the spreadsheet. This is car number 630. We're moving through these cars. I forget what the number was when AtTheTrack.live started, but it's been good because it helps me to be more consistent about entering more cars into the fleet and for the students to use, and it makes me feel like less of a Hot Wheels hoarder by just stacking the cars up in crates and them never seeing the light of day. So this has worked out. And the other thing is there are certain cars that the students gravitate towards that so other cars never get picked. And if it weren't for AtTheTrack.live, I doubt many of the students would have picked the that mustache car. And even though it crashed, before it crashed, it did okay. But AtTheTrack.live, it gives me a chance to see how some of these cars perform that otherwise might not ever get picked. I can always count on the Lamborghinis and certain character cars to get picked. It's kind of a no-brainer. But Other cars, not so much. So I'll be interested to see how this performs. Again, the back end, it's got a flat back end, but it's still got just a slight, the spoiler has a little bit of a tilt to it right there. So really this upper part right there, that's the only part that's going to be pressed up against the launching block. And that may or may not work in its favor. And it's a smaller car, but we have seen smaller cars in the past do pretty well. But it's usually the smaller, heavier cars. And this one isn't, it's not so much that it's heavy. It's right in line with the others. So again, I like this mix we have. We have a pretty good mix. The ice shredder, the weird bobsled car with the small wheels. We have the Honda Sprocket, the hatchback El Camino hybrid. We've got the Draftnator, a plastic drag truck. And then we have this Honda Civic, which if I had to guess right now, I would put my money on really, I'm going to go with that Honda Sprocket. I don't know why. But again, this is just my guesses, and I won't need to guess for long, because after I introduce two more cars, we will hit the track and see which of these is fastest. So 2015 is the year on the Honda. I guess I didn't put the year in. The Draftnator was, what did I say, 2020. I just didn't enter that in. Okay, so we've got these cars here ready to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go with I guess we'll do it. The Monster High Ghoul Mobile. And Monster High is the here I go. I know that there's dolls or something. I don't know. There's probably movies and cartoons and other things related to Monster High. And this is the kind of car that a character car that I know that the students, especially students who are into Monster High, will gravitate towards. And that is one of the fun things, is watching the students decide whether or not they're going to choose with their head or with their heart. And their heart might say, I love Monster High, I want to pick this, or the SpongeBob car, or the Minecraft minecart. But then their head, based on everything they've learned in the class about the types of things they should be looking for, what's going to win out. And we will see how this car actually performs. This might not actually, in the end, this probably isn't a bad choice, not as bad a choice as some of the other character cars. But let's crack this open and take a closer look at the Monster High Ghoul Mobile. And I guess I should check. I don't think I have another one. Okay. Monster High Ghoul Mobile. I'll just go ahead and check the weight right away. Okay, so this is coming in at 27.9 grams. So by far the lightest car that we have looked at today. It's also one of the smallest. Probably the smallest. Let's go ahead and bring this up. This other view of the Monster High Ghoul Mobile. And take a look at that. This is car number 631. And the Monster High. I have no idea if this is just a car designed and themed around Monster High, or if this is an actual vehicle that somebody on that show in that universe drives. We had, a few weeks ago, we had the Mystery Machine from Scooby-Doo, and that did not perform well, but it was pretty, if you looked at it just from the design, it was pretty clear that was not going to be the car that was going to end up challenging for the fastest in fleet title. There was not much chance of that happening. We've had plenty of Batmobiles. I think beyond Lamborghinis, Batmobiles are probably the cars that are most plentiful in the fleet, and there are Batman cars from the video game, Batman cars from the 60s TV show, Batman cars from the 80s movies or the 90s movies, and it's just on and on. So plenty of Batmobiles of every size, type, and variety that you can think of. Okay, so we've got the video of the Ghoul mobile. Let me get a still picture. Oh. Here we go. And switch over there. Zoom in. Let me adjust this. Lock in the focus. And now we have car number 631, the Ghoul mobile from Monster High. See what the year is on this, 2023. Okay. So now we have, put this in here, 2023. We have the Ice Shredder. We have the Honda Sprocket. We have the Draftnator. We have the Honda CRX from 1980, what was it, 1985, the 1985 Honda CRX, and we have the Monster High Ghoul mobile. So we have 5 cars. There is one more to go before we hit the track, and it is going to be between one of these two. Now, I have to check to see which I have. So we have two options. One is the 2018 Dodge Challenger SRT Demon, and the other is the Jaguar XJ220. Now I'm going to check on the Jaguar because it looks familiar. And let's see. All right. Just need to double check because I do not want to have duplicate cars. There are some duplicates in there, and then I realized, yeah, that's not, there's really no point. They're just taking up space. So, okay, let's see. Jaguar, XJ220. Turns out I already have 2 of these in there. Number 508 and number 19. Let's go ahead and take a look. This is the perfect reason. Number 508. Oh, first number 19. So 19. Oh, here we go. But this looks a little different. Oh no, this is. Yeah, it's the same. All right. So number 19, we got that one, an orange one, and then number 508, which I should have, like in the 500s, I should have been checking because 500 is definitely in the yep, there it is. 508. So two Jaguar XJ220s. So that means that this Jaguar XJ220 is going to go into the prize bin. What's the prize bin? That is the bin of cars, usually duplicate cars, cars that people have donated that I already have in the fleet. And when students answer a question, when they are participating, when they win a game, then they get to select a car from the prize bin. And that means that the Dodge Challenger SRT Demon is going to be our 6th car, but while I'm here, let me just make sure that I do not already have one in there. There's an 18 Capo Camaro. Yeah, apparently I love the XJ220s too, because I've bought 3 of them at 3 different points in time. So hopefully whichever student picks it up in the prize bin will also enjoy it. So 2018, I have a 2018 Capo Camaro SS, and that looks like it. So 2018 Honda Civic, 2018 Mustang, great. So that means this 2018 Dodge Challenger SRT Demon gets to be the 6th car for today. So let's crack this open and take a look at it. And here we go. Let's get this up here on turntable. All right. I can definitely see this car being picked, and it's already lined up. So let's go ahead and get the still picture out of the way. Turn it just a bit. There we go. And now let's get the video so any students can get a full 360 look. I guess earlier I had picked, about 2 minutes ago, I picked the, I said that Honda Sprocket would be my choice in terms of cars that I think, the car that I think is going to perform the best today on the track. And this, again, I'm looking at the back end, so it's got a flat back end, and it's just the more traditional type of car that has done well on our track. And it is not a gravity track. It's a flat drag track with the launcher that I designed, and I designed it specifically to launch the cars out with a lot of force, and definitely achieved that. But in doing that, some of the results that we get are not the cars that you would pick on a gravity track are not necessarily the cars that perform the best on this flat drag track. And we will see momentarily. Dodge Challenger SRT Demon, and I will check the weight. There's no R Honda Sprocket. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's the Spocket. Or yeah, okay. Thank you. See, I'm learning a lot today. Almost would have had that Honda Spocket. Interesting. And now I'm thinking I may be pronouncing that wrong. Thank you, Track Time. Honda Spocket. Interesting. Do you know if this was an actual production car, or was it just a concept car? I don't recall seeing these, and maybe it's just the color scheme on this one that makes it relatively unrecognizable. But I don't remember seeing any of these sort of hatchback El Camino hybrid things driving around. It's possible, but I'm curious if anyone knows. I suppose in the end I can look it up, but yeah. So we have the Honda Spocket. Interesting. All right, and we've got the video for the Challenger. Let me check the weight. This one is 38.4, which makes it the heaviest of the cars that we will be racing today. So we have the Ice Shredder, the Honda Spocket, the Draftnator, the Monster High Ghoul Mobile, the 85 Honda CRX, and the Challenger SRT Demon. So we have those 6 cars, and let me, what was the year on this? 2018. So now we are going to see if which of these cars is going to come out on top in our tournament and go on to challenge the Terra-Tracktyl, the surprising fastest in fleet car. So when we go to the track, this is the view that you will see. Essentially, there is a 3-camera view set up, and the cars will begin at the top of the screen on the left. That is our start line camera. I'll give a countdown: 3, 2, 1, race. The cars will fire out of the launcher and head towards the bottom of the screen. After they pass out of the bottom of the first screen, they can be picked up at the top of the center screen, which is the middle section of our track. The cars will come flying from the top to the bottom of the track. After they pass out of the bottom of the center screen, they will enter into the view of our finish line camera. They will come from the top, flying down, crossing the finish line, and our finish line, the winning car, is indicated with a solid red light. So a solid red light for the winning car and a flashing red light for the losing car. Our races are going to be, they are best 2 out of 3. The cars will switch lanes after the first race, and if there is a third race necessary, they will switch lanes once again. Cars can crash. Do our best to keep them on the track and have an acrylic cover to help with that. But in the event that a car crashes, the race is restarted. And if a car crashes twice consecutively, it's eliminated, because typically cars that crash twice in exactly the same way, there's some issue either with the car, the launch that it's getting, but rerunning the race over and over is unlikely to produce a different result for the car. So car crashes twice consecutively, it is eliminated. And that is the racing rules that we will be under. So what I'm going to do is gather up these cars, and I am going to head over to the track, and I will see you in 30 seconds. Okay, so let me just double check the sound and make sure our audio is where it should be. Yep, got the audio. Okay, so now let's see which cars are going to hit the track first. I'm kind of curious. I want to see what this ice shredder is, what's going to happen. I have no idea. So we'll go ice shredder versus Draftnator, and in a sense we're going with one of the heavier cars versus that Draftnator was pretty light. So let's get these lined up and see what happens. Okay, so we'll put the Draftnator in lane number 1. That lined up there. And the ice shredder in lane number 2. Yeah, I don't... And looking at this ice shredder in here, it's so skinny, it's so narrow. I can't imagine it. If it makes it to the finish line, I'll be surprised. But this is why we race the cars. So here we go. Race number 1. We've got the Draftnator in lane 1. We've got the Ice Shredder in lane 2. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Okay, so I was pleasantly surprised. The Ice Shredder, it lost the race by a significant amount, but it stayed on the track. And the Draftnator, as we have more races, we'll be able to determine whether or not the is the Ice Shredder just slow, or is the Draftnator just that fast? It's hard to tell, but I'm going to switch lanes and see if there is a different outcome. However, given the disparity and given the margin of victory for the Draftnator, it is unlikely, unless there's some, I don't know, something completely out of the ordinary happens. It is highly unlikely that the Ice Shredder will be able to beat the Draftnator. But strange things have happened before, and this is why we race the cars, because you just never know. Okay, cars have switched lanes. We've got the Draftnator in lane 2. We've got the Ice Shredder in lane 1, and let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. And as expected, based on the results of the first race, the Draftnator destroyed the Ice Shredder. But again, surprisingly, the Ice Shredder actually made it down the track. So good for that car, but it is not good for its prospects in today's tournament because it has been eliminated. And so now we'll have the Draftnator right here, ready to, waiting for a challenger. And then let's go with, how about the Honda Spocket versus the Ghoul Mobile. So let's get these two lined up, the Honda Spocket and the Ghoul Mobile. All right. Let's see. We'll put the Honda in lane 1 and the Ghoul Mobile in lane 2. Get that lined up right there. Okay, they both look good. And once again, the Honda, the CRX in lane 1 and the Ghoul Mobile in lane 2. Race 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Okay, so the Ghoul Mobile had a decent start, and then it started to kind of fluttered, almost like it was possibly going to crash and leave the track, but it got itself back together. It righted itself and continued on, and eventually lost the race. So I'm going to switch the cars. We're going to switch sides and see if the Ghoul Mobile can make a comeback. Okay, so now we've got the Honda in lane number 2 and the Ghoul Mobile in lane number 1. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Ghoul Mobile, didn't we say that was the lightest of the cars that we had up today? And again, sometimes the students think picking the lightest possible car is a good idea, but because of the force generated by this launcher, that's not always the way to go. But we'll see what happens in this race. So we've got the Honda CRX in lane 2, the Ghoul Mobile in lane 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Okay, a much closer race than the first one, but the Honda took it with relative ease. So we are going to move right along. The Ghoul Mobile will be retired and wait for some student to pick it in the future. But the Honda is going to move on with the Draftnator, and await a challenger. So next up is the Honda Spocket and the Dodge Challenger. So let me get these lined up and see what kind of results we're going to get. Now the Honda Spocket, that was the car that I initially said I thought would have a pretty good shot today. And then when the Challenger popped up, I sort of switched my vote over to that. So this is going to be an interesting matchup to see if I should have stuck with my original pick or if I was right to switch. So we've got the Honda Spocket in lane 1, and we've got the Dodge Challenger SRT Demon 2018 in lane 2. Let's see what happens. Race 1. Three, two, one, race. And the SRT Demon took that, and it wasn't all that close. It was, when I switched my vote, I said it's more in line with the cars that sort of traditionally do well on the track. But we will see. That could have just been a fluke. You have to win 2 races in order to move on. So let's where did I just have these? Let's wind up again. Okay. And now the Challenger will be in lane 1. The Spocket will be in lane number 2. And here we go. If the Challenger takes it, it will move on with the Draftnator and the Honda CRX. If it loses, then we will have a 3rd race. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. And the Challenger takes it. So the Spocket is eliminated, and we will now move on to our semifinals. So let's see. We will go, how about we go Draftnator versus Challenger. See if the Draftnator is really fast or if it just looked fast because it was racing the ice shredder. We will see. Here we go. And we'll put the Challenger in lane 1. And the Draftnator will be in lane number 2. Ready to go. Looks good. Go. Let's see. Oh, nice. Thank you, Track Time. From the Hot Wheels Wiki, the Honda Spocket is a concept vehicle created by Honda R&D America, Inc. in Torrance, California. It's convertible, pickup, and sports car all in one. Yep. Okay, thanks for that information. And the interestingly, that Honda facility moved to Texas a few years ago, and it's not too far from where I am now. But that's good to know. I didn't think I'd seen a hatchback El Camino riding around, but here we go. All right, so let's see. We've got the Draftnator in lane 2, the Demon in lane 1. This is race 1. Let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1, race. Ooh. Okay, so there was some question that I had about whether or not the Draftnator just looked fast because it was racing a slow car, or if it was actually fast. Turns out the answer might be the latter. It might actually be pretty fast because it blew the Demon away on that pass. But it's 2 out of 3, and anything can happen. A car can get a bad launch, anything. But we will see if the Draftnator can replicate that that type of performance in this next race. It will be moving on to the finals, and when it does move on, if it does move on to the finals, then it will face the Honda CRX. So let's see here. Let's get this all lined up. Okay. All right. So, race number 2, we got the Draftnator in lane 1, got the 2018 Dodge Challenger SRT Demon in lane 2. The Draftnator's up 1 race to none. Let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1, race. Oh! The race was a little closer, but the Draftnator still took it as indicated by the solid red light, although we didn't need the lights to tell us which car won, because the Draftnator never gave up the lead and stayed out in front by at least a car length or so for the entire run. So we are down to the finals to see which car is going to be the champion for today. Is it going to be the Draftnator, or is it going to be the 1985 Honda CRX? And then from there, we will see if either of these cars can take on our current fastest in fleet champion, the Terra-Tracktyl, the surprising fastest in fleet car, the Terra-Tracktyl. So I'm lining up the Draftnator in lane number 1, and the Honda is in lane number 2. Best 2 out of 3. This is race number 1. So Draftnator lane 1, Honda in lane 2. Let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1, race. Woo. Okay, so the Draftnator won that by a lot. However, the Honda, as it came down, it started to wobble, and it brushed up against one of the barriers, which is one of the things you worry about if cars don't necessarily fire out of the launcher straight. They'll brush up against the sides. And when it did that, that ultimately meant that it wasn't going to have a shot, because that friction essentially slowed it down to a point that it was never going to be able to catch up to the Draftnator. But this is 2 out of 3. So all it has to do is win 2 in a row. We've seen that happen in the past. Will it happen now? I don't know. If the Honda doesn't win, the Draftnator is today's champion. And so far, the Draftnator hasn't really been challenged. So we will see how it plays out. So this is race number 2. Draftnator in lane 2, Honda CRX in lane 1. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, race. and the Honda explodes into the barrier. That's the same barrier that destroyed the axle on the Rocket Oil Special. So as per the rules, one crash, no problem. We just reset and do it again. If the Honda happens to crash a second time, then it is going to be disqualified. But since I know there's not a specific issue with the car, we'll just chalk it up to, bad luck. But some cars, again, they get strange launches, and I think that this time the Honda, it hit the barrier. In the first race, what happened is it started to wobble and it scraped the barrier. So it didn't smash into it, but it didn't crash, but it did scrape the barrier enough because it was wobbling around. And so let me get the Draftnator lined up here once again in lane number 2. And the Honda, a little worse for wear after smashing into the barricade. All right, is lined up in lane 1. So if the Draftnator takes it, it is today's champion and will go on to face our fastest in fleet car. If the Honda can stay on the track, win the race, we will have a third and final race. So let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1, race. And once again, the Draftnator pulls it out. It didn't look as fast this time, but it was fast enough. It doesn't have to be the fastest, it just has to be faster than the car it's facing. And in this case, it was faster than the Honda, which once again started to wobble around. There may be something with the weight distribution on the Honda or the way it's otherwise designed. But usually if there's a car that crashes multiple times, I'll go back and take slow motion video. And in the slow motion video, you can usually see exactly what the issue is. But in this case, we are moving on to the finals. Actually, not the finals. We're moving on to the fastest in fleet. We have the Draftnator is currently the champion of today's little mini tournament for the cars that are going to be newly introduced into the fleet. Oh wait, there's more information on the Spocket from Track Time. At the touch of a button, the Spocket changes from 4 seats to 2, and the clamshell retracts to provide open air driving. I guess they decided in the end they couldn't find a market for that vehicle, but that's interesting. Like I said, I didn't recall seeing it, and I thought I would have recalled seeing a car like that on the road, but hey, I guess they decided against it, so it's on the shelf. All right, here we go. So our fastest in fleet matchup is going to be the Draftnator in lane number 1 versus the Terra-Tracktyl in lane number 2. The Terra-Tracktyl, the surprising fastest in fleet car. It's been our defending champion for the last 2 weeks, and I wouldn't have thought that would be the case. Maybe this is the end of its run, maybe not. So here we go. We've got the Draftnator in lane 1. We've got Terra-Tracktyl, our fastest in fleet champion, in lane number 2. Race number 1. Let's see what happens. Three, 2, 1, race. The Draftnator is making a statement, and that statement is, I'm ready to be the fastest in fleet champion. It's that race was not close at all, and the Draftnator is 1 win away from taking the title, and we will see if that is in fact going to be the case. We haven't had a car that's had a good long run as the fastest in fleet in quite a while. Probably not since, I want to say maybe sometime last year. But here we go. We are going to go with the Draftnator in lane number 2. And we are going to put the Terra-Tracktyl in lane number 1. This is for the fastest in fleet title. If the Draftnator wins, it is our new champion. If the Terra-Tracktyl wins, we are going to a third and final race. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. We have a new champion. A new champion has been crowned. The Draftnator. The Draftnator, I mean, that race was not even close. And if you've watched the past couple of weeks, Terra-Tracktyl has been winning by substantial margins and in races that weren't all that close, but we've got a new champion. So let me gather up these cars, head back into the garage, and we'll take a look at our new reigning defending champion, the Draftnator. And here we are. We've got a new champion, the Draftnator, which when I saw all of that plastic, I was thinking, yeah, we might have one here. But it turns out, again, it wasn't the lightest car. The lightest car was this Ghoul mobile, the Monster High Ghoul mobile, which came in at 27 grams. The Draftnator, let me see, that one was 32 grams, so 32 and a half grams. So it was lighter than some of the other cars, but it was not the lightest car. And it was only, it was lighter by a few grams. We've had much heavier cars. We've had some that were significantly lighter, but we have, in fact, I mean, we've got a new champion. So now is the part where the question becomes, how fast is the Draftnator? How long can it stay on top? If you think that you have a car that is going to be faster on our track than the Draftnator, you can either suggest it, and if I don't have it, then I have been known to just go out and find it, unless it's some vintage hard to find car that's going to cost me too much money. But in most cases, I will go get a car if someone recommends it and add it to the fleet. Otherwise, we have 631 cars listed, and they're, statistically speaking, there has to be one of these 631 cars that is faster than the Draftnator. Now, maybe you think it's number 132, this Pikes Peak Tacoma. Maybe that might be an interesting matchup. This car looks heavy. I see that metal body versus this Draftnator with all the plastic. That might be pushing it. But if there is a car that you think would be faster, all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live, select choose a car, and then you can scroll through the options. And if at any point during the week you come across a car or you don't see a car here that you know would be a good challenge. Here's one that no one, well, no, students have picked this duck and roll, but it goes back to they're picking with their heads. I'm sorry, wrong. They're picking with their hearts instead of their heads because this is not the car to pick for a number of reasons. But if you think that the duck and roll can challenge the Draftnator, all you have to do is go to this page, scroll through, find the number, in this case 406, and then you would drop it in the chat. And next week we will pull it out and see if, well, before you get to the Draftnator, you have to beat the other 6 cars that I introduce next week. I don't know what cars those are. I'm going to go into storage and pull some out, and perhaps during the week, especially during the summer, I'm going to start having some other races during the week. I have gotten, because I have other cars that aren't necessarily in the fleet that I just wanted some interesting matchups and races. We're also going to have some, what I keep referring to as, if anybody ever watched professional wrestling back in the day, they used to have these loser leave town matches, and it was 2 guys and they would fight each other, and whoever lost the match had to leave. So in some cases I bought cars that I really like, a bunch of them. Apparently I love Ford GT40s, and I keep buying them. And the problem is I don't want to have duplicates in the set. I know there are some, but I don't want to have duplicates. So what I'm going to start doing this summer is having, and maybe sooner, but is have loser leave town races. So all of these cars will race, but only one can stay. Only the winner gets to stay in the fleet. Same thing with, I have this, even as I'm looking, I had another GT40 laying back there. But I also have these Nissan Maxima drift cars, which I can't decide which one I like better. Just any particular day, I might prefer the blue one with the red and white designs, or I might prefer this off-white and red. I can't decide. So I am going to have a loser leave town matchup with these, and only one gets to stay. The other one into the prize bin. Track Time says the Ford GT40 is his favorite real car to collect. I saw there's a Ford dealership near me, and a few years back they had the new modern version, but then they had on display for a little while one of the older models, and I stood next to it, and I'm 6'4", and I loved the car, and I took a video. I took it was actually in the same Golf livery, and I took this, and I took a picture to show scale, to do a video to show scale for the students. And yeah, I love the car, but I don't think I'd be able to fit in it. So I just have to admire it from afar. Not only could I not fit in it, I can't afford it. So it's better for me to collect the Hot Wheels versions of all of these cars. So, all right, so we have a new champion, which is great. And of course, if you want to keep up with everything related to AtTheTrack.live and all about aerodynamics, you can follow us on Instagram at AA Aerodynamics. If you're interested in learning more about all about aerodynamics and the courses and the way to bring our program to your school or your organization or your special event, then you can go to the website, aaerodynamics.com. And if you have any questions or want some more information, you can reach out to me. There's contact information there. You can send me a message through the Instagram page. There are many ways to reach me, and I guarantee you that if your students at your school or your organization, maybe it's a math and science family night. We've done those, and there's a whole setup. There's all kinds of configurations and ways to present all about aerodynamics, no matter the number of students or the amount of time. We have something for every group of students, and the students learn a lot, and they have fun and get to play with Hot Wheels and learn. So it can't be any better than that. So Track Time saying, yeah, the 40. See, I'm learning so much. Track Time needs to be here every week, because I learned about the Spocket. I learned about the that it was in fact a concept car, and now he's letting me know that the 40 in GT40 is because it's only 40 inches tall, and that is, again, you learn something every day. You always have to be open to learning. Kaz, thanks. Hope you have a great day too. Track Time. Anybody else? Also, if you want to watch any old episodes, just go to our YouTube channel, click the live tab, and all of the episodes are listed with time codes, so you can jump to the races, jump to the reviews, whatever you choose to do. So, for At The Track Live, I am Coach James, and until next time, I'll see you at the races.